Black Leather Jacket by Karmele Jaio. Read by Jessica Branton. Raoul comes back home in the evening with carrier bags full of clothes. Marta can't believe it. "You've gone to buy clothes? All by yourself?" Realizing from her voice that his wife is mocking him, Raoul makes no answer. He nods his head, nothing more, and makes his way down the corridor. Let's have a look. Marta follows her husband into the bedroom, full of curiosity, and Unai, who had been watching cartoons, comes after them, barefoot, in his pyjamas. Egoitz is in his room, the door closed, probably in front of his computer. Marta has always helped Raoul to choose his clothes, mostly during the sales, and sometimes Marta has just bought things for him without Raoul even going to see them, just as she does for Egoitz and Unai. He's never gone by himself. But this is not the only change she's noticed in Raoul in recent years. He's been taking more care of his appearance since they moved to their new house in the new part of town. His clothes, his hairstyle, the small silver earring he used to wear when they were students. It had been a long time since he'd gone to get his hair cut, but now he has a short tuft of hair at the back, just like before they got married. Raoul puts the bags on the table and Marta starts looking into them. "I bought 2 t-shirts and 2 pairs of trousers. Is that so amazing?" Raoul asks, and he's annoyed. "But why have you bought S? You need M at least." Marta opens a t-shirt and stretches it out. "And what are these letters on the front? It looks like teenagers' clothes, Raoul. What have you gone and bought?" "That's enough, Marta. Leave me alone." For a moment, Marta wonders whether she's talking with her husband or with her teenage son. How often has she heard Egoitz telling her to leave him alone? Egoitz has given her enough work over the last 2 years, especially before they moved. He'd been against the change from the start, not wanting to move away from his friends in their part of town. They'd told him hundreds of times they needed another room for his dad to use as a studio. Raoul's a photographer, and he's been working freelance since they closed down the newspaper. Egoitz is 17, and his younger brother Unai is 5. Marta's fed up with what people always say to her. That's a big gap, isn't it? Everyone looks at Unai as if he were a mistake. In fact, just the way they had when she had Egoitz, when she was 23. They used to look at her with pity then too, seeing her become a mother at such a young age. No doubt about it, mistakes had played a big role in Raoul and Marta's family planning. That had affected their relationships with their friends. Marta and Raoul don't have much of a social life. Their friends didn't yet have children when they had Egoitz, and little by little they drifted apart. They thought they would enjoy a bit more freedom when Egoitz grew up and started to meet up with his mates, and when they would get their old life and friends back then. But Marta got pregnant again, and nappies, baby food stains, swings and slides came back into their lives, along with going back home at 8 o'clock on Saturday evening. But apparently, when Unai turned 5 and they moved to the new house, a window opened up for Raoul, not just at home, but also giving him the chance to look at life outside. And seeing Raoul's renewed enthusiasm for life, Marta realizes she's in danger of getting left behind. She laughs at each of her husband's attempts to feel young, laughs out loud, in fact, to make it clear she's not worried about it. She wants to make it plain that she finds his efforts to become young again pathetic. But behind her laugh is the fear that one day Raoul will see her as a fossil. She's had that feeling inside for the last few years, but she hadn't put a name to it until one Thursday when she met up with her friend Sylvia for their weekly coffee. "Watch out, Marta," Sylvia warned her, eyes staring wide open. "My husband started like that too." As Marta was telling her about Raoul's transformation, Sylvia said that her husband had started waxing his chest, and a year later he turned up dressed like a modern teenager and asked for a divorce. Sylvia said he'd done her a favour in the end. Thanks to him, she'd found out that she liked women, and since then she'd gone to live with a girl who was 15 years younger than her. But if Marta wants to keep her husband, Sylvia says she should watch out. Sylvia's words finish a puzzle she's had in her head for a long time, and she sees ghosts everywhere. Because of her timetable at the chemist's, she seldom goes to pick Unai up from school and spends far less time in the park with him than Raoul does. And at the school gates, and in the park too, most of the parents are mothers, and all of them are younger than their husbands. Has meeting some beautiful young mother made her husband want to get back his youthful looks? They find it hard, says Sylvia, accepting that they've grown old. And they look for young women, as if they were going to get younger thanks to them. He's started listening to the music from when he was young, hasn't he? Yes, he has. And they think my music from back then is still cutting edge? Over the past few months, my husband's been pathetic. He's been listening to Scorpions. There's nothing older than that. Still loving you and all that, you know. No, Raoul doesn't like heavy metal, but he's made God Save the Queen his ringtone. They don't realise you could play the Sex Pistols in the dentist's waiting room without anybody raising an eyebrow. For young people today, the Sex Pistols are like what Maria Dolores Pradera was for us when our parents listened to her. A classic. Sylvia tells her that all men are pathetic once they reach a certain age, and then hurries out of the cafe. Her girlfriend's waiting for her on campus. After the boy falls asleep, Marta and Raoul sit down in the kitchen. Egoitz is in his room. He's taken a sandwich for supper in there. The Cure are playing in Bilbao at BBK Live, Raoul says as he cuts a piece of cheese. Yeah, and so? Marta asks him. Why don't we go? Us to the concert? Yes, like we used to. When was the last time we went to a concert? When we still had friends, Marta asks, ironically, as she finishes her yogurt. We don't need anybody. What about Unai? We can leave him at your mother's house. She laughs, but deep down she feels hurt to see her husband so enthusiastic. After being surrounded by women younger than her in the park, Raoul goes home, and she looks prehistoric to him. Perhaps she too should buy some new clothes or change her hair to feel younger, to be more attractive. She always wears her hair in a short ponytail, which is comfortable. Perhaps going to that concert is no bad idea. Perhaps it'll be like a rite of passage, a way of getting back the youth they were not able to enjoy fully back in their day. On Saturday morning, as she's putting away their winter clothes and taking the summer ones out, she looks at them spread out on the bed for a moment. After a few minutes, she decides that her mother would wear the same things. No doubt about it. She too has to update herself, inside and out. Can you come up to the attic with me? She asks Raoul, looking at 2 huge bags she's filled with clothes. In the attic, Marta comes across an old suitcase while she's making space for their winter clothes. We've got to do something with these old clothes, she says, looking at the stuff from ages ago in the suitcase. Is that my leather jacket? Raoul's eyes light up. He pulls out a black leather jacket from amongst the clothes. There are a lot of zips on it, rocker style. You're not going to wear that, are you? They brought it for me from London. Jesus, my leather jacket. I thought I'd lost it. As they take the lift down from the attic to the 6th floor, Marta, Raoul, and the leather jacket, which takes a third person's place, Marta starts sneezing. She's allergic to dust. She's brought the suitcase down to look through it at home, but her allergy has come on. She doesn't dare to open it and leaves it out on the balcony. But she's seen some leather trousers she used to wear at one time, and from a moment imagines herself wearing them, dancing, enjoying herself at the Cure concert. Raoul wants to try on his jacket as soon as they get into the flat, but Marta doesn't let him. She says they have to air it on the balcony for a few days to get rid of the dust and smell from the attic. She has a job convincing Raoul, but in the end the jacket goes out there, on a hanger in the middle of the clothesline on the balcony. Egoitz goes out. Somebody sent him a text message, and he leaves without saying anything. "Be back home by 11, Marta shouts before he closes the door, even though in recent months he's been coming home before the time they tell him. Marta suspects he's met a girl, and she has to get back home earlier than he does. She cannot think of any other reason. She goes into Egoitz's room and starts picking clothes up. Seeing a big stain on some jeans, she takes them to the washing machine. Before putting them in, she checks the pockets and comes across a small piece of hashish, a little ball. She sniffs at it and looks for Raoul. He's sitting at the computer, looking at the BBK Live website. "Raoul, Radiohead are playing too, you know," he says, without looking up from the screen. "Raoul, look!" She holds out her hand and shows him the hashish. "Marta, where did you get that? When did you start smoking again?" "Don't be silly, I found it in our Egoitz's pocket." "Let's have a look." Raoul takes the little piece of hashish wrapped in thin transparent film and smells it. This is a great piece. It's Moroccan candy. What are we going to do? Raoul thinks for a moment and looks at the bit of hash. Have we got any rolling papers? Half an hour later, Raoul and Marta are out on the balcony, smoking a joint they've made from their son's hashish. "I can't believe we're doing this," Marta says to Raoul as he offers her the joint. "Come on, Marta, that's enough. Smoke up before Egoitz gets back." "But maybe you'd rather sit Egoitz down on the sofa when he gets back and say, 'We have to have a chat'?" "No, not that, please." "Then smoke up." Marta takes a deep drag on the spliff, waits a few seconds, takes another puff, and then passes it back to Raoul. It's been many years since she last felt something like that in her head. She's speechless and gazes at Raoul's jacket hanging up in front of her. He'd been wearing it when she met him. He had always had it done up as if it were his coat of arms. Raoul was a tough guy. She remembers him in the first row at a concert, his head going forwards and backwards. Marta imagines the young Raoul she'd forgotten for so long, and she finds him attractive. With that image of him in his youth, she turns towards her husband and smiles at him. Raoul's eyes are almost closed, and he can't stop laughing. They both laugh out loud as they look at each other, something they haven't done for a long time. And then a gust of wind blows the jacket hanging over them back and forth. For a moment, it looks like a flag on top of a squat to Marta. She feels as if they've taken over a new piece of territory. The next morning, as she's washing down a painkiller with a glass of water, Marta hears the door of Egoitz's room. Her son comes out in underpants and a Beri Charak t-shirt. He's looking for his jeans in a hurry, but he doesn't ask for anything. He goes out onto the balcony and looks amongst the clothes hanging up there. Then he goes back into his room without having breakfast. "What are we going to do with the piece of hash?" her husband whispers to her shortly after he wakes up. "I've put it somewhere safe. Are we going to give it back to him? I could put it on his bedroom floor, and he'll think he dropped it there." "Give it back to him? No way. It's a long time since I last smoked hashish like that. Every night, over the next few days, after Unai's gone to sleep and before Egoitz gets in, Marta and Raoul go out to the balcony and smoke a joint next to the jacket, which is still hanging up there. It's the best moment of the day. All their worries fly away, and all of a sudden their only concern is feeling pleasure. Marta feels younger, and Raoul looks younger to her as well, and she likes that tickling feeling she has in her stomach, the same thing she used to feel as a young woman whenever she did something naughty. The candy lasts for 7 days, and suddenly getting more hashish becomes a matter of life or death for Raoul and Marta. Taking advantage of him being in class, Raoul searches Egoitz's room. "Have you found anything?" Marta, nervous, asks him. "No, it's clean," replies Raoul, like a police officer. "It's down to that girl." "What?" "I think our son has enough drugs by being in love." "You're joking. Has he given up smoking spliffs?" Raoul asks with concern. "Well, I don't know." Marta decides to give Raoul a surprise. Next week it'll be 17 years since they got married. She's going to make him a special supper and get hold of some hashish for the occasion. Sylvia will get it for her. Her young girlfriend will be able to find some. Marta knows she smokes. She isn't sure whether Raoul has remembered their anniversary, but she suspects he is going to give her their tickets for BBK Live to celebrate it. The day arrives, a Saturday. They say nothing to each other when they wake up in the morning. They got married in the afternoon, and each year they wait until the afternoon before congratulating each other. So she's no way of knowing whether Raoul's remembered their anniversary until she gets home. Marta wants it to be a special evening, and with the two of them being alone at home, it really will be. Unai's going to sleep at Grandma's house, and Egoitz has told them that he's going to a friend's village and will sleep at his house. Marta knows it's a lie. He's going to spend the night somewhere with a girl he's met, but she really relaxes when she knows that she and Raoul are going to be alone. Yeah, tonight she will wear her leather trousers, and it'll be the start of their reawakening. She is ready to go to the festival and get lost amongst the young people dressed in black there. She had trouble putting them on, as they're much tighter than they used to be, and she goes out onto the balcony to get rid of the attic smell of them. And there, looking at the jacket still hanging, she remembers how much Raoul had liked those leather trousers when they were going out together. They really used to turn him on. He'll get excited today too. It's been a while. She also decides that during supper she's going to shake her hair out of the short ponytail she always wears. Today there's no need for Raoul to see the 41-year-old chemist. He can see the young Marta, the attractive, sexy Marta. They will both be young today, split their sides laughing, caress each other, go to bed. The table's laid, the supper's ready, and Marta puts the hashish into one of the pockets in her leather trousers, a minute before Raoul comes into the house. As soon as he comes in, he gives her a kiss on the lips, something he hasn't done for a long time. "Congratulations," he then says, and Marta relaxes. Raoul's remembered their anniversary. "I've made a special supper," Marta tells him, nervously. When he sees the laid table in the living room, he gives her another kiss. He's not yet said anything to her about her trousers. Maybe when she shakes her hair loose. "I've got a surprise for you," Marta tells him when they're having supper. Her plan, when they get to the desserts, is to get off her chair, shake her hair free, and take out the hashish she has in her pocket. "And I've got one for you," Raoul tells her. They don't talk about Egoitz or about Unai, and for a moment Marta thinks they won't know what to talk about. Raoul says that prawn brochettes are amazing as he cleans his hands with his napkin, and he lets out a long ooh when Marta takes the salmon out of the oven. They're as nervous as if they were on their first date, and they don't know what to say to each other. Finally, Marta serves the dessert, 2 champagne sorbets, and instead of going back to her chair, she moves up to Raoul, for him to recognize the trousers he used to know, for him to react once and for all. Her waist is at his eye level, about a metre away, and she thinks she's managed it, when Raoul looks at her trousers and asks her to move closer. "Come here," he says to her, and Marta moves towards him sensually. When she's just a few centimetres from him, she raises an arm to loosen her hair, and just at that moment, Raoul holds out a wrapped-up present. "Here you are." She'd started to loosen her hair, but she ties her ponytail once more and lowers her arm to open the present. It's a CD. There's a colour photocopy of the BBK Live poster on the cover. She thinks the tickets will be inside, but it is actually a CD. "What do you think? They're all there. All the groups who are coming to BBK Live are recorded on it, so we can listen to them comfortably at home. No need to climb up any mountains, get our shoes covered in mud and get cold. I've recorded them all for you. The Cure, Radiohead, Keane." Marta looks at the CD as if she doesn't dare look up. "And I've also recorded some groups from our times." Excited like a child, he starts to read the names of the groups written on the CD. Fugazi, Faith No More, Soundgarden, Living Colour, Red Hot Chili Peppers, The Who, The Jam, Bad Brains, Jingo de Lunch. Marta just hears a buzzing noise, something like the confusion when the chemist's fills up, as if Raoul was speaking to her from the other side of a glass partition. Eventually she manages to look up, and she looks away to the balcony. There it is, right in front of her, Raoul's black leather jacket, swinging from one side to another, like a hanged corpse. On Monday morning, Egoitz can't believe his eyes when the hashish turns up once more in his trouser pockets.